When bass get in big groups and they start breaking the surface on bait fish like a feeding frenzy, this is what I learned growing up that is called schooling bass. And man, what a fun way to catch them. And guys, we're going to talk about why are the bass starting to school right now, later in the summer on the surface. Guys, I'm going to share from my experience this year's on the lakes, on a few lakes I've got it on, where I've watched these fish transition from their summer patterns to this schooling action. Guys, I remember my first tournament ever I won. My biggest bass of the day was on a schooling bass, and it was in the month of August during the middle of the day. This schooling action is very limited, and a lot of it happens in the hottest part of the summer. And guys, I'm going to share with you what I've learned through the past couple months to right now, as much as I've been on the water, to help you go out and catch these fish, because they're not always easy to catch, okay? Guys, welcome to the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. I am Coach E, and in this video, we're about to get in depth into the schooling bass. And I'm going to share with stuff that I know I've never seen on YouTube videos and that I've never heard of as well, as I've been fishing for over 17 years now, fishing. And in the last 2 years, I've had a lot of experience on the water, but even this last summer, I've been on the lakes 20 times a month at times, and I've been on lakes where I've watched these groups of fish transition from this area to this to this. I'm going to help you in this video, guys. We have forward-facing sonar footage as well. Got a lot in depth in this video, okay? So first of all, let me tell you what I saw on my lakes, okay, to kind of help you guys out. Now, my lakes, guys, are going to be in the Hot Springs region, central Arkansas. Lake Ouachita, we just had a Bassmaster Open at, and I got Lake Hamilton and the Gray. I've been on a bunch of smaller lakes also, but these are the ones I'm on the most. And guys, what I started seeing is in May, these fish were on some of your offshore areas. Now, there's still fish shallow. And in our lakes, there's fish shallow year round. And there's fish shallow right now, guys. I mean, you can, some of these wolf packs I'm about to talk about, they're shallow right now. And there's going to be some shallow fish. So May, I started doing my offshore lessons, guide trips, and we're catching them offshore. Catching them on humps, catching them on ledges, into points. A lot of fish were there at times. I'm talking a lot of fish. Lake Ouachita, you'd see 50 fish. You'd see a lot of them with what we have with forward-facing sonar, okay? Then, as the summer progressed, I started seeing less and less on some of these spots. And there's other spots they get to. It could be down the way or here, and that could be factors of are you catching them over and over, or they just move. And I think it's more of just their seasonal movement. Now, they're still going to be fishing some of these areas, but I think the ones that are there have seen the baits, and they might just be a little smarter, okay? But guys, then, as I started seeing less and less, there was one day, and guys, I'm right now working on getting my footage back, because I had this footage for you guys, but I'm sorry, I don't have it right now. I lost all my fishing footage from 2024. There's a certain date that I have all my footage, but I lost it all. It's on a hard drive. It's getting recovered. That's crazy story. But guys, there's a day in mid-June that I was by myself for just a little bit, and I was going to try to find some more fish. So I went to one area, didn't really see what I liked, and then all of a sudden, I started seeing these wolf packs swimming, and they were big fish. And these wolf packs would just be swimming in shallow water, like on these flats, or they'd be off the drops over here just swimming. And guys, when I saw them, I was like, man, there's no way. And I'm chasing them. I'm over here thinking they're whites, and all of a sudden I got one hooked, and I thought it was a white bass until it jumped, and it was a 4-pound largemouth that threw out my lure. So that right then was like, wow. But these wolf packs were 3 to 8 fish, not your mega schools that you see busting the surface. And so that all of a sudden got me start thinking of going after these fish, and why these fish are swimming in no man's land compared to sitting on that brush pile or that drop spot or that rock. Okay guys, here's a group here, and this is one of those flats, and this group actually moved up shallower on it as we got going. I've already caught a group of fish out of this group, and it's like 2 3/4 pound. Caught it on the hair jig. And so they came to the boat, and they're not going to be interested now. I don't even know if I threw at these fish anymore, but I got some footage here in a minute where I threw at some and got them interested. But they're just swimming, what they're doing. They're just swimming. They kind of get up here. There's a little brush pile with another group of fish in it. And like I said, they kind of look like crappie, but as fast as they're moving, and as much as I've kind of done this and figured out, I mean, they're like I said, they're not crappie. I can kind of tell you when they're crappie and when they're not. Crappie will move, but they don't move in the summer like these guys have, from just my experience, which I'm not like a professional crappie fisherman by any means. So here's that other brush pile up here, and I think like another group just kind of came through, and then look, they kind of came out, and look, something happened right there, and anyway, it's kind of interesting, because there they all go, and you can just tell how these guys were swimming. These are some big fish right here. Like I said, they're just kind of moving up here shallow, just swimming around. Now, this group here is a bigger group. And I said earlier, I said 3 to 8 fish. This one, man, 15 fish at least. And they're 3, 5, and maybe some 6-pounders in it. I caught one over 3 out of this on a hair jig. And, I mean, there's some good fish in it. Now, look, now, like I said, I already caught some fish out of this group, brought them to the boat, and then I had to catch up to them. And they're kind of skittish right now. Something right now brought them closer back to the bottom, but as they turn, and that was probably one of my lures, and we're going to see, because this is a 7-minute video clip, but I'm not going to show you the whole 7 minutes. But there they go, starting to swim. I'm rolling. Here in a minute, my spoon's going to come in and get their attention. There goes my flutter spoon where my cursor's at. I'm about to get it right there through them, and look, there goes some that get kind of excited about it. Look, they're chasing it. They're thinking about it, and you can just tell how big these, like I said, how these dudes are. You can see their tails swimming. Good-sized fish. And then they're like, nope, let's get back to the group. Here goes my spoon again. And they're just like, nah, they don't even care for it now. There they go. They're just kind of like, yeah, that's cool. We've already ate. But yeah, they don't got to eat. So then they keep going. Look like they're already back over there now. And they keep going. There's a brush pile they go across. Once again, I'm chasing these guys, and I'm rolling on the trolling motor now. Now, something here in a minute. Is that them right there? Let's see. No, that's that brush pile. Here, there's one cool clip. Here they go. Okay. Now, here, watch them. I get a bait in front of them that gets their attention. And they turn, but they just like, we don't want it. And you see it right there. That's an 8 to 10 XD. And like I said, these dudes were swimming so fast. And I was just trying to get something in front of them to see if they get interested. And that time, it kind of was a crankbait. But now they're back. They're just back to rolling around, going down the highway. You know, there goes my crankbait. And, oh, there you go. And it's just, we don't want it now. There goes that straggler back here. He's like, I'm thinking about it. Anyway, it's just kind of cool. There they go. They're just rolling and rolling. And there they are there. Okay. And then, guys, from that later June to July period, a thermocline was set up. And now that thermocline can be set up at different depths, different areas of the lake. Main Lake at Ouachita at times, I did not even see it, but then as I started working in other main lake areas, it could be 40, 50 foot. You get in your rivers, your creeks, 20, 25 foot. Lake Hamilton, I'd see it in the creeks or off the main lake, 20 foot, 15 foot. Get out the main lake, it'd be 30, 40 kind of. Sometimes I wouldn't even see it out there. DeGray, same thing. So these lakes, a thermocline got set up. But what happened when that thermocline got set up, guys, is it pushed all the bait fish in the upper water column. And so all of a sudden, you have areas of these lakes to where there's no bait, and now that thermocline's set up and they're above it, and there's so much bait above it. That's what makes those fishing in the summer and the winter different. So now these bait fish are like stuck above this thermocline, and all of a sudden these areas, like these ledges, these points that I was catching fish at, had less and less. And then all of a sudden I would go out there. I remember one day graphing. This is how I got on this thing. I remember graphing and seeing fish under bait, and I was like, man, maybe those are whites or hybrids. And then all of a sudden I get to catching, and they're largemouth, 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 largemouth. And I was catching them guys in 15 foot under the surface. And of course, without forward-facing sonar, might not have been able to do it. Okay, I get it. I'm just going to say that right now. That dude helps. Right, that transducer and that screen and black box help. Because when we see them break the surface, that's them typically eating, and that's when we're catching them. But guys, they could go down and be at 100 yards in the blink of an eye because those fish move so fast. So then I would chase these fish as they're under the surface, and they're not easy to catch when they're under the surface. They're moving real fast. If you fished with me on my guide trips or on the water live scope lessons, you've seen them like they're swimming fast, and you're throwing baits at them. They're not even caring. Guys, they're swimming through bait wads and not even eating. These fish are not easy to catch. And there's times they're going to feed and times they're going to not. I get what guys are like, well, why are they not eating? And they get discouraged. I'm like, hey, it's like me and you. Like, there's only so much Big Macs I can eat. If you dropped a ribeye in front of me right now, I just had lunch. I'd try to eat it. If you dropped a second ribeye in front of me, I can't do it. Like, my body ain't going to let me. And that's how fish are the same way. I mean, they're, then after they get a hook in their mouth, that might mess them up too. So these fish don't have to eat. But guys, they wouldn't be in the same areas every day. They're moving. One thing that I learned, of course, and it's simple, but it's true, the wind. So guys, the wind effects, which I'm going to show you here, the wind effects features are what I use on the Deep Dive app. It would help me find some of these areas. If there were areas to where, let's say it's a creek and I was catching them on a ledge, but that wind was blowing from the southwest or blowing north, and there's a bank, I could go to that bank and find the bass and find the bait. Okay, if it blew there consecutively. If there were days where it was more stagnant, then it'd be kind of tough to find them. But if you had consistent days of wind, you can find them. And guys, there are times that these groups of fish are close to your summer spots, your ledges, your humps, but they're out there in the creeks chasing the bait. Sometimes you can pull up there and still see them at times. Every time we pull up on some of these ledges, and like there's one trip I did where there's like 50 fish on one ledge, and I promise you it's one of those groups that's going out and feeding. They just wouldn't feed. We're throwing crankbaits, everything, Carolina rigs, spoon at them. They wouldn't eat. And in my mind, I was like, hey, these dudes are gonna get together and start swimming, okay? And swimming. Okay, guys, here's a group right there. Big group. These are largemouth. Okay, 40 foot. I'm over a creek. I have my live scope set at like 28 because the thermocline was down here like 26 to 30 foot. So I just had it set up to where I could see these higher in the column. Now I was out here just trolling in the middle of this creek looking for them. Okay, I graphed and would find them with my side imaging, down imaging. I've done this on the water lesson trips, and if you're interested in that, check out my Facebook and send me a message. And so I then put the live scope down, and then here they are here. And guys, when I did this, I didn't have much time. Like my 2 days of getting live scope recordings, I did this in under 2 hours, okay? And because I was doing all this with guide trips. Now, as you see how my forward setting to 106 foot down here, the cursor's down there and all that. But like I said, to this day, I mean, I forgot what time I was off the water, but I had 2 opportunities to come out real quick to get this footage for you guys. And I don't really film when I'm on my trips. Like one of these days, we caught over 60. Now here, I threw something up here to get them kind of get their attention. And look here, I didn't get one there. Oh, I caught one there actually. Oh, I caught one there. How about that? So that was probably the hover rig. And I'll talk about the baits here in a minute. To where, like I said, when they're up here in this upper water column, I like the hover rig. So I threw something in there and I kind of let it sit. I didn't really move it, and then I caught that dude. But like I said, these fish are just not relating around bait or anything. They're just out there swimming. Now, if they come across bait, they might eat or they might not. Okay, cool clip here, guys, and I hopefully I can explain this right. I think this ball of bait was at 3 o'clock to me, maybe. 3 o'clock, maybe. And I hit play. Here comes a group of fish, okay? And that group of fish might have been like at 4 or 5 o'clock. Anyway, the bait, I can't remember it precisely, but they were going towards the bait ball. 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, no, maybe 11 o'clock. Anyway, who cares? They're going towards the bait ball, and I knew where the bait ball was and the direction, so I ended up throwing. And it looks anyway, like I threw to where the direction they were going. Now I worked my lure above them, and as you can see, this is a hover rig right here. And here they all kind of, whoop, they go up there, they're fighting for it. I'm just shaking, boom, I got one right there. But I saw the direction they were going, and I can tell they were heading to that bait ball to eat. And I threw in there perfectly. Now that's not easy. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's not always easy to do that. And it kind of works out when you see some that are going to go chase after some fish. Now, guys, these wolf packs, as I call them, when they're roaming and they're swimming out there in open water, like I said, they're in a group, and there are times you can still trigger them into biting. And there's a lot of baits, man, I'm telling you. I threw Alabama rigs through them, guys. How about that? Like, I'm throwing Alabama rig, wires, swim baits, and they wouldn't even pull fish out. There were times I throw spoons and catch a couple, but there's a few baits that I could trigger them into biting when they were not just schooling and breaking the surface, okay? A few baits. Jig head minnow was still sometimes a player, but guys, they if you did catch them with the minnow, it would be in the bottom of the group, and there'd be some good ones, but that still wasn't an easy way to get them to bite anyway. Except, once again, when they're breaking the surface, another story. And when they're deeper, I like that minnow, when they're in that 15 to 20 foot range. When they're 10 foot above, the number one lure I could get to draw those dudes to eat was a hover rig. And something about that hover rig sitting there in the surface of the water, and I say sitting there in the surface of the water, like in front of them in that group. And looking at this one, yeah, okay, I'm about to say it look like that tail's off. But when you're shaking this thing, it's strolling in the water, and then it would sit there and just kind of glide, and it would glide in them schools and create, I think, a reaction strike. That's why I have a couple fish catches to show you guys, to where, like, I mean, it was crazy to how you could throw a minnow through them, a jig head minnow, and you're pulling it away and away, they just don't want to eat it. But this guy was just here sitting there in the water, twitch, pause, just like a traditional fluke. And then all of a sudden, tink, you feel your line, set the hook, and you got one to bite. Sometimes when I'd have 2 or 3 people with me, I could get one to bite with that, and they're throwing in there right away, and they're catching. Then they just start schooling for no reason. They're just breaking the surface and schooling, and it's fun. Guys, you can throw a topwater too. A couple times when they're under the surface like that, you can throw a topwater and pull it up. I was throwing a bigger Zara spook just to see if I could. I mean, they're not chasing big bait fish. They're chasing typically smaller ones. There's some good size about. Some of the bait fish times were about the size of this freeloader, okay, which is kind of a big bait fish for them to school on. But I was on that bigger Zara spook just to try to get a big one to bite, just try to see if maybe they thought it was two shads up there, you know. So I was throwing that bigger Zara spook as well on the hover rig. This is the 1/8 ounce hover rig with a freeloader. Throwing it on a level medium light 7.1 level NGX Performance Series, guys. I'm going to braid a fluoro leader. Guys, you know, I've talked about level rods on here. They're great rods right now. They're light, balanced. I'm pretty impressed with them. So that right there is just a couple of the baits that, you know, I was using. Actually, I went through a lot, but those are the ones I had the most success with. Take you, big old thick fish with the hover rig down the throat. Look at that shad it's eating down there. Top water. Guys, now we're going to get into the Faith Juice segment of the episode. Appreciate all the feedback and all the support for the channel and for the Faith Juice segment. One way I know, guys, you can support me and my business, now my ministry too, is to be a partner of my team with the FCA Outdoors. Guys, I'm about to be a part of Fellowship Christian Athlete, and it's the outdoors segment where I'm going to be going into schools and ministering to kids that fish and hunt, okay? So guys, I'm going to be the liaison now from FCA to these kids in high school that's part of fishing teams, that's part of the trap hunting, or trap shooting. You know, that's part of the hunt, you know, because hunting's not really, you know, the deal. Archery, okay, from the horseback riding to the roping, all right. So there's kids that do these sports, and I'm going to be the liaison to go out there and minister to them, and I'm excited about it, guys. That's going to be a new opportunity. I'm going to be starting soon, but for me to start it, I raise my salary. So if you're interested in supporting me, I have a link down below, but I'd rather, instead of you just donating a $25 a month, $30 a month, $50, $100, I would like you to reach out to me to my Jimmy Eastling Fishing Facebook page. We can have a Google Meet meeting or have lunch if you're local, and I can talk to you more about it, share my testimony and me and why, part of the reason I think I've been called to do this ministry, something I never thought I'd be doing. And anyway, so I'd like to give you more information on that. I have the link down below, and guys, any one of y'all can be a part of it. I'm still there raising my salary for me to do this, and I've dropped other business adventures, okay? So now let's get into the Faith Juice segment. One thing real quick, the Faith Juice segment. This one I'm going to do something a little different today, but I am giving out a shirt or a hat. I got shirts right now that were made and given to me, but they were given me to be given out to y'all. I have hats. I'm not wearing the hat today, but it's a hat with the logo. So here's the logo we kind of got right now. It's back there, okay? So leave a comment on your thoughts of this Faith Juice segment. I guess I'm going to do this one a little different, okay? And this might reach out to a lot of people on the channel, or it might not. It's okay. But because I say this too, because I think what have I said? I think it's 93% of y'all are males, 7% is female. But hey, I'm going to call it the guys right now. And if you're a lady, then you can figure this out too, okay? But I'm calling out to the dudes. If you're married, let's try to show some appreciation in the upcoming week. If it's writing a letter, if it's flowers, just something extra for appreciation. Making dinner. I make dinner all the time, but it could be a nicer dinner. For you might not make dinner. Maybe it's that. Taking out to eat, doing something. Maybe it's taking the kids to the park or taking them out somewhere and having the wife just have a alone time, quiet time. Or I guess some of y'all might take them out fishing. I thought about that. Some of y'all might take them kids out fishing. So anyway, guys, now if you're a lady, maybe there's something you can do for your husband. Or if you're not married, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, just something there. And if you're not dating, that's okay. That's all right too, okay? So, but this is just for if you are married, been married for a long time, do something if you have not for a while for your spouse, okay? And just because I know every day, I know for me, we've been married for 9 years. 10 is coming up. 10's coming up. I'm starting to think about that 10-year reunion. But we've been married for a long time. And now with us with 2 kids at the house, man, we sometimes forget about each other. So anyway, I've got some stuff. I don't need to put this out there. She might watch this video, but anyway, I'm going to try to get some things extra for her, okay? Just show her some appreciation for what she does with the kids and for me as well, dealing with me and being supportive of my business and this crazy job that I'm doing. Anyway, appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all once again for watching the Fishing Coach YouTube channel. Remember, leave a comment, and I'm going to pick the comment to give out a hat or a shirt, okay? I should have said that earlier. This now just went all over the place. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you on the next one.